Welcome to the Law of Attraction Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Key. If you're looking to manifest a life you don't need a vacation from, then you came to the right place. I quit my 9-to-5 job to stay home with my kids while building a thriving business. Now, as a best-selling author, app creator, and 3 times podcaster, I am here to teach you how to do the same. If you want to join my inner tribe, head over to the Manifest It Now app. And now let's dive in to the podcast where I'm going to give you my best manifestation hacks and tips so that you can manifest a life full of abundance, freedom, and fulfillment. All right, I promised you guys some big things coming this summer around my favorite topic, which is manifesting money and a life you don't need a vacation from. And I actually have 2 things that are coming very soon. I'm going to link them in the show notes so that by the time this podcast airs, you should be able to get in, but if not, you can get on the wait list and get the early bird pricing. So the first is if you know about the Millionaires Mastermind, but for whatever reason, you couldn't join the live calls or it was a little bit out of your budget, we have an affordable option where you can catch the entire program and it's just not going to have the live coaching and calls, but it's going to be affordable and you can do it at your own pace, your own time. So that is coming. And then I'm super excited about my new program called Digital CEO, where I'm going to teach you in just 6 weeks how to create your own app. And it's going to be a way to create recurring passive income. Because I was thinking about my journey of manifesting a life I don't need a vacation from. And obviously that includes freedom, like not having to be stuck in the 9-to-5 grind and answer to someone else, like doing things on my own schedule, calling the shots in my life. And really the turning point was the app. That created that passive income stream where you build it and then it's there. And for all of you that are like, oh, that's great, but I am not techie whatsoever. I hate technology. I'm not good with that stuff. Neither am I. And neither was I. I knew nothing when I started. But thankfully, we have so much technology available now that makes it so easy. So like if you've ever done anything with a landing page or a website, it's very similar. So anyhow, I'm going to walk you through the entire process so that you will have an app, your own app in the App Store in 6 weeks. So you can go to the link in the show notes to find out more information about that, or you can go to the lawofattractiontribe.com/digital CEO. All right, let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Law of Attraction Tribe podcast. So today I want to talk about asking for signs and getting a clear answer from the universe, because this is something that has happened to me over and over and over again. I swear by it. It works. And I want to use some examples because this has come up recently in the Millionaires Mastermind, in my coaching with clients. And I just want to share sort of like my experiences with it and what some other people are experiencing. So you test it out for yourself because it's really powerful. So let's just start out with my experience in not really having a clear direction, feeling very confused on what I'm supposed to do, when I'm supposed to do it, like what the next step is on my path. So as you know, I was in my corporate sales job for 12 years. And it was fine. Honestly, like for a long time, it was fine. It wasn't something that was my passion, but the pay was really good. I always had great managers and great coworkers. And even though it was a 9-to-5 and I never really got into that whole concept of why we do that, it was manageable. And it came to a point where we had layoffs like every 6 months. Okay. And that's the funny thing is, you're told to go and get this safe and secure job with a corporation. Yet there's no such thing anymore. Like if the numbers are down and the shareholders aren't happy, The easiest way and the quickest way to cut costs is through your number one expense, which is your people. And so most companies do that. They will go through layoffs when the stock is hit, and in pharmaceuticals it happens often because you constantly have products whose patents are up, and then you have managed care changes and different things that can affect it. So, we were constantly dealing with layoffs and everything else. And the company did this like reorganization where they moved everyone around, like changed our territories, our districts, and I ended up with a new manager. So, like the manager that I had the whole time I was in Florida went somewhere else, and I got along great with him. He was amazing. And I got a new manager. Well, she was super, not just negative, but downright hateful because her husband had worked for the company and like he had gotten laid off. And it was just the whole thing was like, it was a bunch of drama, but she took it out on us. She took it out on her team, and it was awful. It went from like loving my manager, my job, like everyone was happy, everyone was performing well, to literally waking up every morning feeling sick to my stomach and just dreading the day ahead. And I, all week long, would think about the weekend or my vacation days. But then on Sunday, again, I would spend the whole day having a panic attack about going back to work on Monday. And this woman just like, I mean, she wasn't nice to anyone, but for some reason, I felt like she really had it out for me and kind of targeted like the moms on the team because I think, in her mind, it was like we're, not putting in as much as the guys on the team that don't have kids or kids are grown, because we have to drop them off at school and pick them up. So we're not out in the field as many hours. So even if our numbers looked amazing and we were doing all the right things, in her eyes, we were never doing enough. And my numbers were doing awesome. Like I was doing great, but there was always this like it's not good enough. And we were having a meeting one day, and she is just laying into everyone about their numbers. And I said, "Well, my numbers are great. I'm up 20%. Like I'm not concerned at all." And she gave me this like nasty look and is like, "It's not about you. And you still have to worry." And it was just kind of this like very demeaning, condescending attitude. And it came to a point where like there was a day where she had asked me to meet her at this hotel lobby. And for like 2 hours straight, I felt like I was in an FBI interrogation. She just started questioning everything and pulling up my computer and asking me about like every single doctor that I visited and what time I left my house and what time I got home. And it was the most awful, uncomfortable experience. And in that moment, I thought, I cannot do this anymore. This is ridiculous. And on the way home, I made it almost home. And I called my husband, and I was like, my chest is hurting. Like, I can't breathe. I think I'm having a heart attack. And like heart problems run in my family. And I was having like really bad heart palpitations. And I felt like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't catch my breath. And so I was like halfway between home and the hospital. And so he was like, just go to the hospital, like go to the ER. So I went to the ER, and like they did the EKG and like a full workup. And they were like, this is stress induced. Like you are having a panic attack and it's physically manifesting in your body. And I remember the doctor sitting me down and talking to me and saying, like, you know what the cause is. It's this job, it's this particular boss. So you have an option. You can try to wait her out. And in the meantime, we will pump you full of anti-anxiety medication just to get through this time while she's still around, and just hope that she either quits or is promoted or moves to another district or something. Or you can leave your job and find something else. And she said, maybe this is a blessing in disguise because maybe There's something else you're meant to do. And this is, paving that way for you. And it was the first time I really thought about that. And looking back at my life, whenever things got to that point where I had major anxiety, where everything felt like it was falling apart, on the other side of that was always like the best breakthrough. It always led me to a new path that was so much better for me. And I feel like when you get to the point where you know you're not happy and you know you want something else, but you're afraid to leave and go do that, the universe will step in and make things so unbearable that you have no choice but to move. Like you have to get uncomfortable or you would never be motivated for change. And this is why I always say comfort and, feeling just at ease with things, but not really feeling great and not really feeling miserable, just like that, it's okay. That is the most dangerous place to be because you never have any motivation to make a change when you're comfortable. So things got very, very uncomfortable. And it was that day that I decided, and I literally said out loud to the universe, and this is what I'm talking about, that it sounds so crazy, but I swear it works, and I think that everyone should try it. You could write it down or you could say it out loud, but I remember I was in my car and I said it out loud and I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I've known for a long time I don't want to do this, but I am afraid to leave because I have bills to pay, right? Like I had a mortgage, I had a car payment, I have a child and a husband and bills, and like I can't just leave. We're dependent on that paycheck. And I need a clear sign. Like I need to know that there is something that's going to happen because I just can't leave. It was like the perfect case of the golden handcuffs. And I'm like having this conversation. And so I'm like, I need you to send me a sign at exactly the point that I should leave. I need a sign and it has to be so crystal clear that there is no way that I could miss it. You guys, that is when I got pregnant. And this is coming after years of never getting pregnant and like thinking, after I had my daughter, thinking like, this is it. I'm never going to have any more kids. And going to doctors and them telling me like, we don't really know why you're not getting pregnant, but maybe you're just not going to have more kids. Like you should give up on it. And I get pregnant and I knew the moment I took that test, I knew without a doubt. There was like so much assurance. Every atom of my being knew this was it. This was my sign. And I am going to go on maternity leave and I'm just not going to come back. And then I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about quitting and like going through all this drama. That's my plan. And so sure enough, like knowing that I had an out, it was so much easier to go and deal with this woman every day, And it gets to the point where I have my daughter and everyone, like my coworkers, my family, like everyone's like, what are you going to do? What's your plan? Are you going back? And if not, like, have you been applying for jobs? You really should get your resume together. And I was like, no, like I am done. I am done with the 9 to 5. I'm not going back there. I'm not doing it. And I was just so certain. I had completely made up my mind. And everyone's like, well, what are you doing? You have to have a plan. You can't just say you're not going back. And I was like, I know I can't explain it, but I just know. I just know I'm not going back and everything's going to work out. So again, I have this conversation out loud with the universe. And I'm like, I need a sign. Like I need to know what the plan is because I'm starting to worry here. Like I'm starting to get a little nervous and I need to know what is next, right? So I'm in the hospital room, just had given birth to my daughter. I'm still in the hospital and I get this email on my phone from a woman who I barely knew. I had talked to her like twice before then. And she was like, hey, my company, like we are ready to invest. We've got money, we've got the funds, and we need you on board. I want you to come and like completely take over our social media and, yada, yada, yada. So she's offering me a full-time job, which ended up replacing my income. And I could work from home from my phone. Literally, I was on Zoom calls holding my daughter and they didn't care. They were like, whatever you need, like that's great. So it got me through that time that was so difficult. And I ended up pretty much doing everything you could think of with this company, including creating an app, which I never in a million years, like if you told me you're going to go and create an app someday, I would be like, fuck no, I'm not. Like, what are you? I am not tech savvy. I don't know how to code. Like, I'm not creating an app, but I did. And it didn't just like happen. It was like little by little. Like I learned a little bit more and I applied different things. And next thing you know, I just felt emboldened to create it. And I did. And I remember thinking, you know what? I could do this. I could do this for me. Like I could do this for the Law of Attraction Tribe. And then instead of having 85 different links to all these different offers and freebies and things, I could just have everything in an app and just tell people like, hey, just go download the Manifest It Now app. Like that would be so much easier. So I did it. I sat down, and this is what's crazy, you guys. When you are aligned with the right hemisphere of your brain, when you're tuned in to your intuition, your creativity, and your imagination, things work differently. Time works differently. And we've all experienced this. If you've ever been working on something that lights you up and hours have gone by and it feels like minutes, that's because you're in that flow state and you're totally in the right hemisphere of your brain, where the left is more like strategic, analytical, very logical. And things work differently when you start to tune into that right side. And so I was totally like in a state of flow. Like I can't even explain to you, but every single time I've done something transformational in my life, writing my books, creating the app, doing the podcast, I go into this flow state. And it's like, I can't explain it, but you just go into this different way of being and things just happen. Things that you never would logically think could happen. It's like the impossible becomes possible. And I sat down and in 1 week created my app. 1 week. This is what is possible when you ask the universe to give you a clear sign and you trust. You get out of your logical thinking brain and you just let things flow. So it gave me the sign of when I should leave my corporate job. It gave me the sign of what I would do so I wouldn't have to go back to my corporate job after having my baby. And then it gave me the sign of, okay, I'm ready to leave this job and I want to work for myself. I want to be my own boss and have my own money and schedule and grow my own business. And then it gave me the sign for that. And I created this app, and the app is really what opened me up to all of this passive income that allows the lifestyle that I have today. This, freedom to be home with my kids, and work very little to maintain the business. So anyways, side note, I am now creating a course. It's Digital CEO, where I'm going to teach you how to build your own app and create passive income in just 6 weeks. So I will link that in the show notes. It's coming in July. We've got some time, but I'm super excited about it. That was another thing that I really wasn't planning on, but just I was in that state of flow and it's like, this is the next step. And again, in like a weekend, I sat down and laid it all out. So anyhow, when you ask for a sign or you ask a question, you get an answer. And all I can say is, instead of sitting there and doubting it or thinking I'm a crazy person, just try it. Like, just humor me and try it, because I have all of my clients do this. And for example, in the Millionaires Mastermind, the very first round, right? We start talking about signs one day. And it was like totally random too. It was like not on a typical call. It was one of our like hot seat coaching calls where you can ask anything. So someone had asked about signs and I start telling them, and the example I used was when my mother-in-law passed away, I felt, I could feel like her energy and her connection. And I thought I was going crazy, right? And my husband and I were watching this show on mediums that connect with like past loved ones. And the medium was like, anyone can do this. And, all you have to do is ask. Just ask them to give you a sign if they're around. But you want to make it obscure enough to where when you see it, you know this is coming from them. So it's not something you would see every day. So we're watching that, and right away, my husband's like disco ball, because I always called his mom like the disco diva. Like she was very into disco music and that kind of stuff. And when do you ever see a disco ball? Like the last time I could remember seeing one was when I was a kid and we were at like the roller skating rink. So anyhow, that was my sign. And then all of a sudden, like I don't even remember, it was like a few days later or a week later, I go to this photo shoot at a place that I had never been before. It was actually, they rented out an Airbnb that was like really cool looking to do these brand photos. And I'm walking up the driveway and I'm like blinded by this light. And the sun was reflecting off of a disco ball that was hanging from the front porch. And I looked and I just smiled and I was like, Juanita, like, oh my God, like, this is you. I know this is you. And who has a disco ball on their front porch, first of all, right? So, anyhow, I'm telling the girls in my mastermind about this. And everyone's like, well, you know what? We really like the sign disco ball. Like, that's so fun. Like, we're going to steal that. And that's going to be like our sign too. So, next thing I know, we're all messaging each other, and like everywhere we go, we're seeing disco balls, like literally everywhere. And now, fast forward months later, and you guys probably know, you go into like a store like Five Below or look on Pinterest or anywhere, disco balls are like a thing now. They are like a trend for like parties, and they're just a thing. And I'm like, I swear we freaking manifested that, because before then, like I never saw disco balls anywhere, and now they are everywhere, everywhere, and we still to this day are like messaging each other. And so now we're in this new round of the mastermind. So I tell them the story. So same thing, we're like sending each other pictures of disco balls. And one of the girls sends me a photo, and she's like, I'm walking down the street and I step on something that crunches, and look at what it is. And she shows me there is a little disco ball keychain like crunched on the street right in front of where she was walking. So it's like when you ask for a sign, it shows up. Like it just does. I have a coaching client and I was telling her about this, and I was like, have your sign of abundance. Like ask the universe to give you a sign when you're on the right path. So like let's say there's something that you want to do. Maybe it's leaving your day job, or maybe it's investing in something or whatever. And you're kind of like scared because it's a big decision, and you start doubting yourself, We all do it. Ask the universe to give you a sign, but again, like pick something that you wouldn't normally see. So anyhow, she messages me a picture of a robin, and she's like, I never see robins in this area. Like I don't even know how there's a robin in this area, but it's here. I was like, oh, like that's cool. Okay, maybe that's your sign. And then she like sends me another picture. Then she's like, I left that area. I go back to where I'm from, where there certainly is not going to be any robins. It's in Florida. And she said, and then I have a friend message me that there's like all of a sudden all of these robins like everywhere. And she's sending me a picture, and they're like, for some reason, there is this like herd of like robins everywhere. And so I'm like, it's like so crystal clear. You ask for a sign and you get the answer. And if you don't pay attention to it, you will get it in a way like that, where it's so big. It's so like you cannot deny it. So I'm going to ask you guys to just play along and humor me and do that this week. Like think about it could be a loved one who's passed and you want them to show you a sign. It could be asking the universe to steer you on the right path. Like, give me a sign if I should do this. Give me a sign if I'm on the right path. Give me a sign if I should quit my job, or like whatever it is, and make it something that you would not normally see, and just ask. Say, I want it to be so crystal clear in my face, so much so that I can't deny it, and see what comes through. And I am telling you, it works. It works every single time. So that's my tip for today. I know that was a little long-winded, but the other thing is, if you're intrigued by all of this, like this is the kind of stuff that we do in the Millionaires Mastermind. And I know I've had so many of you reach out and say that you wanted to join this last round, but you couldn't make the live calls because we have people in all different time zones. And like for some people, I know it was, you couldn't afford it. So we are offering the whole entire framework, and you get access to like the replays and these calls. Like you'll get access to the disco ball call. And we're launching it for 90% off, which is insane, but I just feel like we need to do it because I want to make it like affordable so that no matter where you are, no matter what time zone you're in, like it's all self-paced. Do it on your own time. It's affordable and it's never going to be this low again. So if it's been on your mind and you're like, "Man, I really want to do that, but I can't." Now is the time to get in and join. So I will link all of those in the show notes below. You can always message me with questions on Instagram at Law of Attraction Tribe. You can also go to my website, thelawofattractiontribe.com, and go out and find your sign. Ask the universe, and then let me know. Message me and let me know what happens. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a fabulous week, and I'll see you back here next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys want more in between these podcast episodes, you can subscribe to my Apple Podcast, Manifested It. You can find that in Apple Podcasts, and it has all of my bonus interviews, guided visualizations, subliminals, meditations, all that good stuff. Or you can download the Manifest It Now app, where I put everything, all of my interviews, tools, everything I've used to manifest a life I don't need a vacation from. You can find that wherever you get your apps, in Google Play or the Apple App Store. And you can join the Inner Tribe Manifesting community, which is inside the app as well, if you want to up level with a group of women who are there to support you, cheer you on, give you guidance, and up level your vibe. And if you love this episode, the best thing you can do to support the podcast is share it. Share it with a friend, share it on your Instagram. Make sure to tag me at Law of Attraction Tribe so I can share it back on my story as well. I love connecting with you guys and putting a face to all the listeners out there. So come connect with me over on Instagram and let's start a conversation. Have a great week, and I'll see you back here next time.